There's a number sitting in mailboxes across Florida right now that's quietly breaking the dream of home ownership. It's not the property tax bill, it's the insurance renewal notice. In some Florida zip codes, that single envelope holds a bill north of $26,000 a year, just to keep the lights on and the roof legally insured. Multiply that by every homeowner on the street, and you start to understand why entire neighborhoods are quietly emptying out. Why for sale signs are multiplying in cities that used to be unshakable. And why some families are walking away from homes they spent decades paying off. This isn't a future risk. It's happening right now in 2026 across the Sunshine State. Today we're counting down the 10 Florida cities where insurance costs have become so brutal that they are reshaping who can afford to live there and who has to leave. We're starting at number 10 and working our way to the single most insurance-crushed city in the entire state. Stay until the end, because number 1 is on a level of its own. Before we get into the countdown, if you're new here, welcome to Florida Report. We dig past the headlines and the real estate listings to show you what's actually happening on the ground across Florida. The housing market, the hidden costs, the cities thriving, and the ones quietly struggling. If that's the kind of content you want more of, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because today's list might change how you think about buying and/or staying in this state. Now, let's get into it. Number 10, Fort Myers. This city is still living in the long shadow of Hurricane Ian, the Category 4 storm that tore through southwest Florida in September of 2022. Lee County, where Fort Myers sits, has seen sustained elevated insurance rates compared to pre-storm levels. Insurers haven't forgotten what Ian did here, and neither have the rebuilding costs. While some cheaper policies exist for newer, well-protected homes, the broader picture for the area is grim. Representative annual premiums for high-value homes in Lee County run between $28,000 and $40,000, excluding flood insurance entirely. For middle-class families, the math is simpler but no less painful. Renewal notices climbing year after year with no clear ceiling in sight. Homeowners here are stuck in a holding pattern, watching their equity get eaten alive by premiums before they ever pay off the house. Number 9, Hialeah. Tucked inside Miami-Dade County, Hialeah carries a reputation most of its residents never asked for. Hialeah has the most expensive home insurance quotes of any city analyzed in Florida, averaging $4,639 a year, nearly double the statewide average. And that's the optimistic number, based on shopping for the cheapest available policy. The deeper issue is structural. Analysts point to the elevated tropical storm and hurricane risk across Miami-Dade as the core driver of these costs. Hialeah is a city of working families, multi-generational households, and modest single-family homes, exactly the demographic least equipped to absorb a sudden $4,000 annual hit. For many residents here, insurance isn't a line item anymore. It's a second rent payment. Number 8, Tampa. On paper, Tampa looks almost reasonable compared to its southern neighbors. The average price of home insurance in Tampa runs around $2,554 per year, but that statewide friendly average hides a brutal split. Step outside the inland pockets and toward the bay, and the numbers transform. Homes in the Tampa Bay and St. Petersburg corridor sit in storm surge zones, where premiums for a standard $300,000 dwelling can run between $4,000 and $5,800. Tampa is essentially two insurance markets stitched into one city, and the gap between them is widening every renewal cycle, pushing waterfront and near waterfront buyers out and concentrating risk and cost into a shrinking band of coastal real estate. Number 7, Orlando. This one surprises people because Orlando is inland, away from the worst hurricane wind exposure, and for years that geography protected it. Orlando and Lake County have historically enjoyed lower wind exposure, with premiums on the lower end of Florida's scale generally between $2,200 and $3,400. But lower in Florida in 2026 is a relative term, and the trend line matters more than the snapshot. Across the state, the average annual homeowner's insurance premium reached $8,292 in 2025, an 18% jump from the year before, with projections pointing toward another rise by the end of 2026. Orlando isn't being spared, it's being delayed. The pressure that hit the coast first is now creeping inland, and homeowners who once felt insulated are starting to feel the squeeze in every renewal letter. Number 6, Miami. The numbers here are almost numbingly familiar at this point, but the human impact never gets easier to look at. Miami homeowners can expect to pay an average of $5,315 annually for insurance. Compare that to homeowners in inland areas like Ocala, who pay around $1,865 a year for similar coverage, and you see the coastal premium in stark relief. Miami's density compounds the problem. This isn't a handful of waterfront mansions absorbing these costs. It's hundreds of thousands of working households, condo owners, and retirees, all competing for the same shrinking pool of private insurers willing to write policies in one of the highest risk markets in the entire country. Number 5, Fort Lauderdale, representing the brutal math of Broward County as a whole. Broward's average annual premium increased by 31%, adding nearly $1,500, climbing to $6,291 between March 2022 and September 2024 alone. There's a flicker of good news buried in the data. Broward posted a 17% rate cut in 2026, the largest reduction in the state, driven by Citizens Property Insurance shedding policies and private carriers undercutting the state-backed insurer. But context matters. A 17% cut on a premium that ballooned 31% in 2 years isn't relief. It's a partial refund on an overcharge. Fort Lauderdale homeowners are still paying dramatically more than they were just a few years ago, even with the recent rollback. Number 4, Boca Raton. This is where Palm Beach County's luxury reputation collides head-on with hurricane zone underwriting. Coastal homes in areas like Boca Raton face elevated hurricane risk, with annual premiums averaging $14,520, more than double what many other major Florida cities pay for comparable coverage. For perspective, that's roughly the same as a car payment every single month, just for the privilege of insuring the roof over your head. Boca Raton's high property values were once considered an asset. In 2026, they're a liability multiplier since higher rebuild costs translate directly into higher premiums, and there's no version of moving slightly inland that fully escapes it. Number 3, Naples. This is a luxury Florida living running headfirst into Collier County's punishing risk profile. Naples and Collier County see representative premiums on high-value single-family homes ranging from $25,000 to $38,000 a year, excluding flood insurance. Even retirees with significant savings are reconsidering their plans. Industry observers note that property insurance in Naples has become notoriously expensive due to ongoing risk models and storm exposure, alongside daily costs that already run well above the state average. Naples sells a dream of palm trees, golf courses, and Gulf sunsets. The insurance bill is the line item nobody mentions in the brochure, and it's quietly pricing out the very retirees the city has spent decades trying to attract. Number 2, Tavernier, in the heart of the Florida Keys. Most people have never heard this name, and that's exactly the problem. It's not famous, it's just brutally expensive. Home insurance in Tavernier averages an eye-watering $18,950 per year. That single figure puts it among the most expensive places to insure a home anywhere in the entire United States. Tavernier sits exposed to open water on multiple sides with almost no buffer from storm surge or hurricane winds, and a small, thin insurance pool that gives carriers very little room to spread risk. For the people who call it home, Paradise now comes with a 5-figure annual surcharge just to keep it insured. Number 1, Key West, and Monroe County as a whole. This is the undisputed, uncontested ceiling of Florida's insurance crisis. Monroe County has the most expensive home insurance rates of any county in the entire state of Florida, averaging $18,201 a year, and that's just the average. One specific Monroe County zip code, 33070, posts the single highest homeowners insurance rate in the entire state of Florida, $26,067 a year. For high-value homes, the numbers move into territory that sounds almost fictional. Representative premiums on a $2 million single-family home in Monroe County range from $35,000 to over $50,000 annually before flood insurance is even factored in. Even the government's own insurance data backs this up. An Office of Insurance Regulation report found Monroe County held the highest average single-family insurance cost in the entire state, while Sumter County held the lowest, at just over $1,500. That's not a small gap. That's an entirely different financial universe, inside the same state. Key West is a city built on a finite island, surrounded entirely by water, with nowhere to retreat inland and no buffer zone to soften the risk models. Even with the state announcing more than 1,000 Monroe County homeowners receiving some rate relief in 2026, the underlying math hasn't changed. This is a place where insurance costs alone have become a major financial burden. And for the people who've lived here for generations, the choice is becoming brutally simple: find a way to pay, or leave the island for good. What's happening across these 10 cities isn't random bad luck. It's the visible result of a state built largely on coastline, hurricane exposure, aging housing stock, and a private insurance market that has spent the last several years recalibrating just how much risk it's willing to absorb. There are signs of stabilization. Citizens Property Insurance cut rates statewide in spring 2026, and 18 new private insurers have entered the Florida market since the 2022 reforms began. But stabilization isn't the same as affordability. For the families in Key West, Naples, Boca Raton, and beyond, the bill has already arrived, and it's already changing decisions about where to live, whether to sell, and whether the Florida dream is still worth the price tag attached to it. If this look at Florida's insurance crisis opened your eyes, let us know in the comments which city surprised you most. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more deep dives into the real numbers shaping life across Florida in 2026. Until next time, this has been Florida Report. Stay informed, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next video.